Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Pascal Miller with Solomon Signature Homes. Today we're going to be going through our FMEP pre-drywall walkthrough. So before we call an inspection in for FMEP, which is framing, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, I do my own little inspection. I have a checklist to go over many items that we'll go over today, just to make sure before we put any insulation or sheetrock up, we're all good to go and there's no minor things that will require us to tear sheetrock down or anything like that later in the process. So let's get started. So the first thing I look at is framing. So there's many items in this checklist, but we'll go over some of the major ones. The first thing is rough opening. So I'm going to check all my windows, all my doors, all my garage openings, and all a rough opening means is your frame. So the 2x4 to 2x4 or whatever you're using, that way whenever you insert your door or your window, it fits to size according to the plans. Also, I look for the garage doors. We have 1,000-pound straps going from the stud up to the top plate. And this basically anchors the roof to the walls. Especially in garages, it's important because it's a big open area, and if there's a lot of wind, there's a lot of uplift in the garage. If these straps aren't there, I'm sure you've seen it before, but it can literally rip out your garage doors from the pressure. It can get pretty wild. So also, kind of along that note, we have these 5/8" anchor bolts with these square washers. That's just a code thing. And it's, again, just holding down your wall to your foundation. Next, we'll move over to our U for ground. This is installed during the foundation pour, and it's basically how we ground the entire house. So all of our electrical from our electrical panel is grounded to our U for ground, which goes into the slab foundation and runs 20 foot along the footer. And that way, if there's any kind of energy surge, it'll be grounded and it won't cause any power outages or anything like that. So we're inside the house now. For framing, I'm also checking our LVL sizes and locations. So above me here, we have a monstrous LVL, which stands for laminated veneered lumber. It's basically an engineered lumber that is meant to carry a lot of loads across a span. So here we have about a 20-foot span, and that LVL spans and supports all the load of these joists and the ceiling load as well. One more thing I'm looking at as well, all around the house we have anchor bolts. There's about 6 foot along the entire perimeter of the home. Again, it's installed into the bottom plate here, and that holds our walls to the foundation. Here in my bathroom, it's really important that we get our rough openings to the wall because I have my cabinet plans, and if my walls are either too close or too far away, I have to customize my cabinets and maybe add extra trim to make them fit. And so it's just something that saves you a lot of time in the long run. So double checking the distance from here to the other side. Just making sure that you're following the plans. If there's one wall that's kind of open on one end, it's not that big of a deal because you might be an inch, maybe you're inch more or less. But when you have a closed-in space like this, it's super important to check that dimension. So next, I'll be looking through all the electrical. So our electrical rough-in, things I'm checking here are in our bathrooms. I like to put my outlets on the walls if possible because if you have them on the back wall, you'll typically have a mirror here. And you have to either get a custom mirror that has a little cutout for that outlet. So by putting them on the sides like this, I'm able to just get a normal mirror and not have to do any customization for it. Also, these are required by code to have one per sink. So this will be a double sink. So I'm making sure we have our 2 outlets, 1 per sink. I'm also checking my vanity locations. I have these centered on the window above. Of course, that's just, it'll look weird if it's not centered. So the window, you have your centered vanity light, and of course, my sink will be centered on that. Also, I'm checking all of my outlets for the rooms, making sure they're not located behind a door. If you're not careful with that, you'll end up opening a door and your outlet's behind the door, and it gets annoying. So I take my plan, I check all the swings for the doors. For example, this door is going to be swinging inward to right hand in. I have my outlet here. I check all the doors for that purpose. In the kitchen, I'm checking for my dishwasher box, electrical box. I'm checking to make sure I have an outlet for my garbage disposal. In this house, I'm gonna have under cabinet lighting, so I'm making sure we have our electrical for that, as well as the proper locations for our backsplash electrical outlets. And also while I'm here, I have my pot filler. This is part of plumbing, but of course I'm gonna check it just while I'm here. Now there will be a stove right here, so easy access to water. And then I have my double stack oven here, and that's my outlet for that. Also, code requires that we are stapling and securing our Romex and our PEX to a stud. And so I'm just checking to make sure he has proper spacing on his staples and that they're secured against the stud. And so here we have our chimney, and there'll be a TV mounted above our wood-burning fireplace. And so we have power here for an outlet for the TV, and then this is kind of a future-proofing thing I like to do, and it's just so that it's a PVC running from here just to the attic, so that whenever we run any kind of HDMI cabling or Cat5, it's easy access to run down the wall. And similar situation here. We have a speaker system in this house, so along with all the speaker wiring I'm checking at this stage, I'm also making sure we have PVC chases in our bedrooms and our garage. Similar story for any Cat5 cables, internet wire, or HDMI cables we need to run. And this avoids having to do any opening sheetrock to run wire, and it also makes it a lot easier for the whoever installs your internet to just be able to access it from the attic, fish a wire down, and come out of a box in the bottom of the wall. All right, for HVAC, we have two of them. We have two 3-ton variable speed units, one for the master suite portion of the house and one for the rest of the house. Things in HVAC I'm looking for are making sure the ducts are secured properly to the boot with proper mastic. They're secured properly to the plenum. Our plenums are made from, it's all metal instead of ductboard, because it's just metal plenums just last longer. And then I'm checking, a big one is our vent for the hood, the range hood above our oven. If this isn't centered properly, I've had issues in the past. We have to move cabinetry or just come back and cut drywall. It's just not fun. So making sure at this stage that it's where it's supposed to be saves some time in the back end. I check my drain pan and make sure that my drain lines are routing out properly, as well as my boots, just making sure they're square on the ceiling. No one wants to see a crooked air vent in their house. For all of my exhaust fans, I'm making sure that the duct is fastened securely to the exhaust fan, and that it is routing, in this case, we're routing it into the soffit, just right outside. All right, also something to note on HVAC. For this house, it's a really airtight house, and so we have a dehumidifier up in the attic. And what this is doing is just regulating the moisture content and the humidity of the house, and it basically keeps it at 50%, which is nominal for comfort. Also, what we're doing to keep our house dry is in the bathrooms we'll have a humidistat that the fans will run until we reach 50% humidity. And this way, just because it's such a tight house, the house can't breathe like older houses used to. And by taking these steps, we can keep any excess moisture out, keep any mold from going, things like that. For plumbing, we are going to have our water heater in the garage as well as our water softener. So what I'm checking here is that we just have our hot and cold, all of our piping is where it needs to be, our drain line, and then everything I need, my standpipe for the FMEP inspection, which has to be full 5 feet and filled with water, as well as just my piping for the water softener. This is my laundry room. I'm making sure all my PEX is secured to each stud. Also my P-traps. Code requires us to have 4 inches from this connection to the P-trap, and so I'm just making sure these connections aren't too close together, which can cause clogs. So the plumbing for my island, mainly what I'm checking here is that we have these little cleanouts. So this way, if there's any clog, it's pretty easy access to just unclog whatever is in the pipes, stopping up the water from draining. For my toilets, I check that we have 12 inches from the center of my 4-inch stub out to the wall, and this way that I'm making sure that my toilet will fit and won't be too far back, and we have to, shift this pipe forward or backwards depending, just to make sure it's in the correct location. And lastly, I just kind of walk around the entire house and just see if anything looks off. I make sure that all of our windows look right, stud placement's correct, that I have the correct amount of stud support underneath my LVL beams, things like that, and just an overall walkthrough just to see if I can see anything just visually that could be an issue in the future. I also take a lot of photos at this stage. I take a photo of every single wall, and what I'll end up doing is printing those out. Once we get sheetrock in, I will basically put that photo on the wall. That way any trades coming through know where the pipes are and kind of what's behind that wall. And that just kind of helps with, the subs coming in, knowing where everything is and where everything should be.